Exfoliation. It's a word I'm sure everyone with even a minor, tiny, minuscule interest in skincare will have heard at some point. But what is it? What is exfoliating? Is it safe? How do exfoliating products work? How do you figure out what's right for your skin? Should you do it? How often should you do it? There's a lot of questions, right? Today, we're back to looking at the science of beauty, and we're going to be looking at exfoliators. As you might know, your skin is made up of several layers, each with different functions and characteristics. The top layer is the epidermis, and it's usually made up of around 4 or 5 or so layers of epithelial cells. New layers of skin grow from underneath, and the topmost layers die, and we often shed these, especially in places being constantly used, like the hands, right? They're constantly in contact with things, so we're constantly shedding dead skin cells. However, it's not always easy for us to shed these cells in places that aren't really being touched very often. For example, the face. On the face, dead skin cells can end up kind of sitting there for a while, not being removed. And especially as we get older, which I'm not experiencing, the process of regenerating skin cells in general just slows down. If we don't get rid of the old dead skin cells that kind of sat on the surface, we can end up with skin that looks dry, rough, flaky, really dull. And it can also lead to clogged pores and therefore spots, and it can stop things like moisturizers being properly absorbed into the skin. So you can be spending money on expensive skincare products, moisturizers, anti-aging products, toners, anything, and it won't be absorbed properly into the skin. You're just throwing your money away. They just end up sat on the surface, you're wasting them. But it's okay, we can get rid of this top layer of dead skin cells by exfoliating. See? This was relevant. And now there are two main methods of this, physical and chemical, and I know both of them sound a bit crazy, like chemical, do you want to put chemicals on your skin? Not half as scary or as weird or as frightening as it sounds. They're both quite simple, and today we're going to be looking at what they are and how they work. Physical exfoliation usually means using some kind of scrub or brush to physically remove the dead cells from the skin. It's a mechanical process. While chemical exfoliation usually uses some kind of acid to dissolve the dead skin cells and kind of dissolve the bonds between them. Again, acid and dissolving, it sounds a little bit terrifying. It's not. Most of them are quite mild, but let's look at them in a bit more detail. Regular exfoliation is so important because it makes your skin look brighter, softer, healthier, and it helps increase collagen production, so generally your skin looks younger for longer. You're less likely to get wrinkles and sagging and just kind of, look your age. Of course, while exfoliating can be good, just like anything, chocolate, too much of a good thing isn't great for you. If you exfoliate too much, too often, too harshly, you can start to damage the healthy, alive skin cells underneath. This is probably likely to leave you with sore, red, and dry and flaky skin. So if you exfoliate too much, you'll be causing some of what you're trying to get rid of. You gotta be careful too. Not all exfoliators are equal. Some are more effective than others, some are more likely to cause more damage than others. You really need to figure out how these exfoliators work. You need to understand what you're doing to your skin, and you need to understand your own skin type in order to figure out what is the best option for you. It's not just a matter of picking up any one that looks or smells good and slathering your face in it. Let's start with chemical exfoliators, because these are the ones that sound a bit scary, right? And you'd think these are the ones that you've got to be most careful with. But honestly, I would say physical exfoliators are the ones where it's probably easiest to do the most damage. But before we get into that, chemical. Chemical exfoliants break down the bonds holding dead skin cells together. There's no need to scrub at the skin with them, you just apply them, leave them on the skin for a while, and rinse away. If you want a really gentle chemical exfoliant, you want to be looking for something with fruit-based enzymes. If you want something a little more intense, have a look for some kind of acid peel. Probably the most common are alpha hydroxy acids, or AHAs, that's really hard to say. You might see these listed as something like glycolic acid, lactic acid, citric acid. Again, these can also be derived from foods and fruits, so while they're acids, they can still be natural. Glycolic acid is probably the most common one that you'll find in cosmetic products because it has the smallest molecules of all of them. So it's really great for getting into all the little like awkward spots in your skin. So all the little wrinkles I'm getting now, all the little fine lines you have on your face and your body, it can get in them and still exfoliate them. And again, it leads to increased collagen production, which will leave you looking younger. If you're worried about aging, you have a lot of fine lines and wrinkles, go for a glycolic acid. Lactic acid is probably the most gentle one, so if you have sensitive skin, use a lactic acid with a low concentration. It's also really good for sensitive areas like around the eyes and around the lips and that kind of thing. The other things you need to know about AHAs is that they're water soluble, they're great for when you have blocked pores, they'll help hydrate your skin if it's really dry, and they'll even help even out your skin tone. Your other option when it comes to acids are BHAs or beta-hydroxy acids. You might see this ingredient listed pretty commonly as, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, salicylic acid. This is the option you probably want to go for if you have issues with acne. Although again, if you have bad acne, I definitely recommend you speak to a dermatologist before just slathering your skin in anything, because you don't want to cause any more damage than is already there. The main difference is AHAs tend to work on a very top surface level. They don't penetrate too deep into the skin, whereas BHAs, they go deeper. They really penetrate into the pores. They remove any dirt or debris that's clogging the skin, so they can remove blackheads and whiteheads and stuff as well. Unlike AHAs, BHAs are oil-soluble. They have both antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties, which means not only do they treat the skin at the time, but they'll help prevent any future breakouts of spots or whatever. So this isn't just a treatment, but it's a preventative measure as well. So there you go. Chemical exfoliants. I know that was a lot of me kind of talking at you, but I thoroughly recommend you do your research into them, figure out what your skin type is, figure out what you need, and so on. Is your skin oily or is your skin dry? Do you have sensitive skin or normal skin? Do you have issues with acne and spots and breakouts, blackheads, whiteheads, clogged pores? Once you've figured out all the stuff, you can figure out which chemical exfoliant is going to be the best for you, and there's always going to be an option for you. If you are in any doubt, go see a dermatologist, go speak to a doctor, they will know what to do. Your other option if you don't want to go for chemical exfoliants is to go for a physical or mechanical exfoliant. These usually mean physically removing or buffing away dead skin cells from the very surface of your skin. This might include facial scrubs with little beads or special brushes, or some people even use kind of razors. Not to slice at the skin, but to kind of brush against it, and it removes the layer of dead skin. I quite like my physical exfoliants. There's a few different ones I use. For example, the one I use on my face is the Intelligent Nutrients Refining Micro Polish. This is one I got in my FabFitFun, I think it was the summer box. I work with these guys, they sponsor me, they're wonderful and amazing, and they always send me the best products. This is the facial exfoliator I got in that box, and I've been using it constantly since because it's so good. It's really gentle, it helped clear up a breakout of spots that I had, it helped get rid of the dry skin I was struggling with, plus it's cruelty-free. And the other one that I use on kind of my whole body, so I don't use this on my face, but I use it on my arms, my legs, that kind of thing, is it's actually from Primark, and it's a vanilla and brown sugar body scrub. It smells amazing, and it's such a gentle exfoliant, but it just leaves my skin feeling really smooth and smelling amazing. Literally, this whole tub is about £3. So worth it. So cheap, so affordable. And again, cruelty-free, not tested on animals, and the smell is just, oh my god. I wish I could eat this. It kind of reminds me of Christmas as well. I think that's the vanilla in it. It sounds a little silly, but I always like to think of physical exfoliants kind of like sandpaper. They kind of buff out the surface and make it smooth and remove all the sticky up bits and bits on top, and yeah, that's less harsh than sandpaper, but kind of like sandpaper. When I use something like this on my face, what is happening is I massage it in little tiny circles, and it has tiny little beads in it. In this one in particular, I think they're actually seeds, and what they're doing is they're literally moving the top layer of dead skin cells off my skin. They're breaking the bonds that it has with the alive skin cells. They're removing them, they're kind of collecting them up, they're moving them around, and then once I rinse the scrub off my skin, rinsing the dead cells away. Generally with these kinds of facial scrubs, you only need to use a really small amount, and you don't need to put pressure on. You don't want to be scrubbing at your skin like this, because that's going to cause more damage. Just really soft circular motions like this are going to be more than enough to get rid of all the dead skin cells that you want. Go soft, go slowly, take your time with it. You don't need to push too hard because you will risk damaging the very living, healthy skin cells underneath. Sometimes these exfoliating beads that you see in facial scrubs can be made of plastic. These are terrible for the environment, and I do not recommend them at all. If you see any of the ingredients on an exfoliator listed as microbeads or as any of the names that are on screen right now, I would say avoid at all costs. Yes, they can be a little harsh on your skin, but the main problem is they are incredibly damaging to the environment. Once you wash them off your face, you are literally washing plastic into the oceans. It can mess with the water and environments. Fish can eat them and die. Other, sea life can eat them and die. It's a mess. It's really, really bad, really dangerous. They're not worth it at all. You're better going for a natural option. And I know I always preach this idea that natural isn't always better. Natural just means natural. It doesn't. No. In these cases, when it comes to physical exfoliators, natural is better. If you want something that works like microbeads, but is natural, I would recommend going for something like jojoba beads, or a salt or sugar scrub, or ground fruit seeds. Those things, they're natural, they're not going to cause any harm to the environment, but they still work just as well, if not better. Sugar scrubs are probably one of my favourites because they tend to smell really good, and I just like how they feel on my skin, really. The other thing to watch out for is that some exfoliators include ingredients like walnut shell, and they grind up walnut shell, and that's supposed to be the kind of rough bit that you rub against your skin. You might remember there was some controversy recently with Kylie Jenner releasing a walnut facial scrub. The problem with this is that walnut is far too harsh to be safely used on the skin, especially the face. It can cause a hell of a lot of skin damage in the form of micro tears. If you see anything with walnut in it, and I think it's the same for like apricot seeds and stuff like that, you see anything with them in, avoid them. They're going to cause more damage than they help. Of course, when you go to any kind of shop and you see a bunch of exfoliants in front of you, you're going to be faced with a lot of options. Your best thing to do is research the ingredients. Look at what's actually in them. Don't just look at what claims they're, claiming. Try and stick with natural ingredients, don't go for plastic. Try and make sure you're not going for something that's too harsh or too damaging. Make sure you read the instructions of how to use it best. Each exfoliant will be different, and you want to make sure you're using it as intended, not going too hard, not applying it for too long, that kind of stuff. I know it can all seem overwhelming and scary and you don't want to damage your skin. It might seem like the easiest thing to do is be like, well, I'm just not going to exfoliate, I don't want to risk damaging. But honestly, the benefits are numerous and well worth it. As long as you follow the instructions, as long as you understand your skin type and the ingredients and how they work, you're going to be absolutely fine. So yeah, there you go. That is just like a little intro to exfoliants. I know it was kind of like a lot of me talking at you, a lot of information here, but I honestly find this stuff absolutely fascinating, and I'm really kind of excited to carry on with this Science of Beauty series. I love looking at what is going into the products that I use on my body. A lot of the comments I end up getting from people are about how makeup isn't natural, your skincare stuff isn't natural, it's toxic, it's a poison, and I'm like, no. A lot of this stuff is perfectly safe and has excellent benefits. Same with makeup, I've always said. It's a myth that makeup causes skin damage or spots or whatever. No. If you make sure you're cleaning your brushes and your, whatever you use to apply it, your sponges, everything like that, if you make sure your makeup's in date, if you buy quality makeup, that doesn't mean expensive, but it does mean quality. So don't go to Poundland and grab some cheap eyeshadow palette for like 50p. Wait, no, it's Poundland, it'll be a pound. As long as you're making sure you're buying quality products and you're using products that are right for your skin type, you shouldn't have any problems. And it's the same of all kind of beauty and skincare stuff. If you understand what you're buying and why you're buying it and why you're using it and how it works, you're going to be absolutely fine. And so that's kind of the point of this series and what I want to do with it. Let me know down in the comments, what are your favourite exfoliators? What experiences have you had with exfoliators, good or bad? What would you recommend? What do you not recommend? And also let me know what other products you'd like me to cover in this Science of Beauty series. In other exciting news, I recently sat down to talk to the wonderful Seth Andrews of the Thinking Atheist podcast. We had a really great conversation and it was so much fun. I really enjoyed it. You can go listen to that on Spotify, iTunes, all the main podcasty places, or there is a video version available on Seth's YouTube channel now. Just a huge thank you to Seth for having me on his podcast, and just a really fun conversation. I absolutely loved it. And also, because I can't stop talking apparently, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been so supportive and given me amazing feedback recently and who's reached out. You've all been so lovely and kind and constructive, and I just want to thank you all so much. I'm really going to try and take that into consideration. All your advice, all your tips, all your feedback in my future videos, and like I say, I really want to keep growing and improving and making things better for you. Anyway, I'm shutting up now. Thank you for watching today. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'll see you again soon.